Hey, this is Mark Housel, and tomorrow is May 5th, 2020, and I was supposed to be traveling out to William Patterson University, which is where I graduated from, and I was going to be giving a workshop for graduating seniors, physical education teachers that were graduating, and I was going to talk all about my time at William Patterson and just some things to think about. And unfortunately, with our coronavirus situation, I will not be doing that. So this is a link that not only am I going to share with William Patterson grads, but I'm also going to see if I can share that with some other graduates around the state. And hopefully this information will be helpful. And that's all I have to say about that. I'll tell you a little bit about a link that I'm going to send to you. And first, I want to share with you some things, and congrats to you. I believe that you have picked one of the most important jobs in the world. And not only that, you have picked one of the best subjects in the world, the best subject in my opinion. Physical education is the only content, by the very nature of its content, that has the potential to affect how a person will feel every minute of every day for the rest of his or her life. And it's a pretty big responsibility. And I remember being at William Patterson, and we had a group of, say, 30 teachers in the room. And one of my professors was like, all right, so how many people here have ever been picked last? Have been consistently picked last in their lives, and you look around, and we were all athletes. Some of us were on the college team, some of us played all through high school, and maybe there was one person whose hand went up, and the other 29 of us were kind of looking around because we were either the ones picked first or we were the ones picking the teams. And she really laid into us, and she's like, so you're the one that's going to be responsible for everybody's social, physical, emotional well-being. You're the ones. And she really made me think a lot about challenging our highest learners and are people that need the most amount of help, and every single person in between. And we really got a big job ahead of us when we choose to take this on. When I was a kid, when I was younger, it was more the strong got stronger and the weak got pushed to the side. They were the last ones picked, the first ones out. And again, we don't ever want to hand people success, but at the same time, we don't want to put people in a position where they don't even have a chance at success, or very little chance at success. So anyway, next thing that really stuck with me is you can't teach them if you can't reach them. And I know that quote's been said many times, and you look at relationships with kids, and that's what it's all about. You can make the most well thought out, awesome lesson ever in the history of the world, and it's not going to matter if you're not doing the best that you can to try to reach the kids. And how do you do that? The best way to get respect is always to give it. And I remember early on, I thought that I would just automatically be respected by kids, and that just doesn't seem to be the way of things. Probably wasn't when I was a kid, probably wasn't when my dad was a kid, and it definitely isn't true today. To get respect, you got to give it. And how do the kids start to respect you? And this was always a tough one for me, is be consistent. And I remember being a young teacher, and I remember thinking, well, how do you be consistent? And you just try to be the same person in the beginning of the day that you are at the end of the day, the same teacher that you are on Monday, that you are on Friday. And it's tough. You have picked a difficult profession to get into, but it's an awesome profession, and I, kudos to you for picking it, and I think it's awesome. And that's about all I have to say about that. So let me get into what I thought were the things that, especially in New Jersey, that made the biggest difference for me as a PE teacher. Number one, I had somebody early on. I met him during my student teaching, and his name's John Grimko. He taught up in Pequannock. That's where I student taught. And he said to me, listen, you got to do two things. You got to get onto the New Jersey AFERT Executive Council, and you have to go to the Lake Conference. And for me, two unbelievably big game changers. I went on the New Jersey Exec Council for 1 year only. I wound up moving to South Jersey, but in that 1 year, I got to meet some of the most amazing professionals And again, I asked so many questions of them, and they were so willing to talk, and I was paying attention to just about everything they had to say. And if you ever heard the quote, Dr. Gilbert over at Montclair University is big on this quote. If you've ever heard the quote, "Success leaves clues," find somebody that's where you want to be and talk to them and ask them questions about the kind of teacher that you want to be, and how do you handle classroom management, and what do you do in this situation with a kid that's unmotivated, or whatever your questions may be. Seek them out, and I'll tell you what, I can't even begin to thank the people that were there for me and helped me become the kind of teacher that I want to be. People like John Smith and Chip Candy and Greg Montgomery and Chris Baccarella, and the list goes on and on of people that were, Andy Schmidt, that were out there and willing to help. And so anyway, seek out people and that are where you want to be. Ask them questions and listen to the answers. The next thing was a lake conference. He said, you got to get out to the lake conference. Now, the lake conference for me, when you go to the lake conference, this is in New Jersey, you are going there with the best of the best of the best. And why do I say that? It's because, you get there on a Sunday and you spend Sunday night and all day Monday, and then you come home, right? And that doesn't sound like that big a deal. Well, people are leaving their schedules and their families and everything that they love dear to go get better for their students. And to me, it doesn't get any better than that. And not only do they bring in awesome presenters, but they also, you're sitting there and you're eating lunch with people that are, in a different county, in a different part of the state. And, you're hearing things that are very similar and things that are so different. And what you learn just sitting there eating meals with everybody is just immeasurable. And so I highly, highly, highly recommend not only getting out to the lake conference, but really getting out to all conferences and really trying to connect with, and especially with older teachers that have been there, done that. And anyway, I'm on my soapbox, so let me jump off. Let me tell you a little bit about this this document I'm going to share with you, and I'm going to slide my phone that way a little bit because I have it right here. So first of all, you'll get a link to this video. Second of all, you'll get a link to my plans for the last 2 or 3 years, and in those plans, you can just kind of see how I present my lessons to my kids and how they hit the gym running, they come in, they're moving right away. There's assessment in there, there's all sorts of stuff in there. So hopefully that's very helpful to you. Next, the Global PE shared folder is in there, and this folder has ideas from some of the best PE teachers in the whole entire world, and they're all compiled into one section. And I'm not even sure who runs this folder, but what an unbelievable resource and really awesome. I know Justin Scheidler, I think I said his name incorrectly, but he's a big proponent of this. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to ask him if he's the one who runs this. But anyway, super, super awesome link for you to follow, and so many ideas on there. If you're not on Twitter already, do yourself a monumental favor and get on Twitter. I think that's probably the best online resource for physical education teachers like you and I. I have included a couple links on there for people to follow. And when you follow them, you're going to see what all these awesome people are up to, and hopefully that'll be helpful. There's also a Twitter search link that I found just recently, which is amazing. Say you're doing a throwing catching unit, there's already a link there, and you just hit throwing catching, and that link is on there, and you can bookmark it, and that's pretty easy to do. So I've also found that Google Keep is probably the best way to organize online ideas, because I found like I was getting all these ideas, and I'm old school, right? I was raised in the 80s, and I'm sitting there writing ideas down, and then I'm losing my notebooks that I wrote them down in. It was just very hard to keep track of. So Google Keep has been very good with helping me stay organized with all it is that I'm doing. Next, another incredible resource is the Open Physical Education Network, or it's the Online Physical Education Network. Unbelievable resource. It has, nuts and bolts, objectives, activities, assessment, standards linked to it. It is just unbelievably well put together by PE teachers all over the country, and so that link is on there. PE Central, PE Universe links are on there. There's some links to some PE technology resources. I don't know if you ever heard of Kevin Tiller, but he's an awesome PE teacher, and I also have the PE Geek is on there. There's so many blogs out there of different teachers. I actually included mine, which just a link to one of the blogs that said what I need to remind myself more as a teacher, and then I have the Save the Best for last, and you can read it. And anyway, here's what I'll say is if I had showed up at William Patterson on May 5th, the first thing we would have done, after intros, is we would have done the Why Do Kids Act the Way They Do relay. And what would happen in the relay is, there'd be 2 or 3 people in a line. There'd be a big chart paper at the end with a marker. And say I was first in line, I would run down, I would write down one thing that why kids act the way they do, right? And I would run back and the next person would go, and we'd keep going, and we'd compile these big lists, right? And at the end, we would go through the lists. And see, the thing is with the lists, I've done this with camp counselors. I've done this workshop where we did the relay with with teachers, with people who are just getting used to working with kids, who are new to it. And even, I had mentioned teachers, seasoned professionals, they just skim the surface, and what I mean by that, and they'll say, oh, well, the kid's having a bad day, or maybe the kid has ADHD, or maybe, maybe they're annoyed that day, maybe they don't like you, maybe, they just kind of skim the surface, and I usually have a list of things, and I'm like, all right, well, who mentioned that they're in a foster care situation, or that they're being neglected or abused, or they have a dying sibling or a dying parent at home, or somebody's abusing drugs in the house, or, these kids are coming in to you, say you got 20, 30 kids, you have no idea what they're going through in their lives. And just like the staff members that you work with and the people that you walk down the street with, no idea in the world what they're going through, what makes them what they are. So with these kids, and I mentioned it before, we got to do the best we possibly can to connect with them and understand that man, they're going through a lot, and we got to try to guide them through it. And what an unbelievable way to do that than to be their physical education teacher. And I wish you nothing but the best. I also have a link to my email. Please feel free to reach out to me, and if you have any questions. And I wish you the best. To the Willie P people, what can I say about William Patterson? What an awesome place to go to school. My roots run deep there. I met my wife there. She was on the women's team, and I was on the men's soccer team. I got to play for Coach Woods. If you know him now and you think he's crazy, I guarantee you back in 1994 when I first met him, he was much crazier back then, but he made me better in every way. I loved the cliffs. I loved the falls. I loved hiking all around. I loved, trekking up to Whiteman Gym. You may not love it right now, but I loved it back then. And anyway, I wish you the best. I wish I was there with you today. To anybody from Kane or Montclair or Rowan, whoever else is listening, TCNJ, I wish you the best as well. And again, feel free to reach out. And if you ever see me at a workshop, come up and let's chat. And anyway, be awesome. Make yourself committed to reflect on, what it is you did in class and how you can get better, and look to reinvent yourself. When you look at somebody, do you want to, and when you look at yourself, when you look back on your time, do you want to have an incredible 25-year career, or do you want to have a 1-year career that you repeat 25 times? We got to constantly reinvent ourselves. And once again, I thank you so much for your time, and I wish you nothing but the best, and have an awesome day and keep on moving. And thank you so much for watching.